Okay, welcome to my first catch and cook of 2018, even though this fish was caught and cooked in late 2017. This was before the bomb cyclone hit us here in New Jersey. So I'm out here with Elias and his friend James. I have the full fishing video on my channel. In any case, I'm using a 3/8 ounce gammy darter jig head with a 3.3 inch Kitech fat and just working it real slow. That's how I wanted it that day. If you see here, I popped the jig up. I'm letting it pendulum swing towards me, and the fish was there when I came tight to the jig. So I did end up taking home quite a few lake trout over the course of these 2 days. They sort of remind me of Arctic char, maybe not as delicate, but they're definitely milder than salmon, maybe a little bit stronger than your farm-raised rainbow trout, and in my opinion, much better. So I know Elias says these are underrated. I certainly agree with that. These are the first trout, salmon-y type fish that I've caught, and probably the first wild trout that I've worked with in terms of cooking. Oh Christ, I hooked this one in the gill. Fuck me. So as usual, we're bleeding these fish out. Even though this one was hooked in the gill plate, I don't know how. The hook kind of just snagged one lobe of its gill. You still want to make sure that you get a clean bleed. And in my video, we're doing a miso glazed lake trout. I'm going to do it with 2 different techniques, one in the oven and one in the pan. Oh, this is going to be a bitch. Yeah, this cooler is pretty heavy. I think I have 5 lake trout in there. Oh my god. It's a long, steep ramp back up to the car. In any case, the other lake trout catch and cook will be on Elias's channel. I'm not sure when he's going to upload it, but I know he's in Florida right now, so he might not be thinking about lake trout. And that one we're going to roast whole. We're really pressed for time during this filming. I think I only took off one side of this fish, and you cut through the pin bones just like any other fillet. And now I'm tweezing out the pin bones. These bones run towards the front of the fish, and you want to keep slight pressure on the meat while you're pulling them out. So here's the miso paste we're using for the glaze. I'll leave the ingredients to the miso glaze in the description below. But what you're after is sort of a thin paste that's going to cling to the fish, especially if you're going to roast it. So here's some dark soy, and I'm adding some maple syrup, also table sugar, and some sake, which is a unseasoned rice wine. About the juice of a quarter of a lemon. Here I completely messed up. I added way too much sake, so now this glaze is going to be way too thin, so I have to go back and add more miso paste, and as a result I have to add more sugar and more acid. So that's cooking. You want to taste everything. There should be a balance between sweet and salty and sour. If I'm doing this for beef or chicken, it would be less acidic. For fish, I like it, just a little bit more lemon juice. So here we have a skin-on piece of filet that's just resting on parchment paper, and we're going to marinate the filet in the glaze for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then we're going to reglaze it before it goes in the oven. And then the portion of the filet that's skinless, we're gonna roast in the pan. And in the pan I have some unsalted butter, and just a drizzle of grapeseed oil. This is not a hot sear. This is not a high heat, sear, color, that kind of thing. This is a low heat. Since we're using butter, it's a slow pan roast. And I am dropping the miso glaze right into the fat, and the milk solids in the butter along with the sugar and the miso paste, that's what's going to caramelize onto the fish. So if your pan gets too hot, just pull it off, and you can just move it on and off the heat to regulate the temperature. That's the quickest way instead of dialing the heat up and down, especially if you have to cook on an electric stove like me. Just absolutely terrible. But in any case, here we go. Flip the fish, one hand or one finger on top, and you see, even though it's on pretty low heat, you still get really nice color, and the glaze really sticks to the fish. You see the fish is pretty much done. It's gonna shrink a little bit, and this is a very fatty fish. It's quite mild in flavor, but it has a high fat content, which usually translates into pretty forgiving cooking times. You can overcook it a little bit and you're fine. So the oven is preheated to 470, and we're going to roast the skin on fillet. And you'll see the difference in terms of how the glaze reacts in the oven versus the pan. And here's just some scallion green garnish. You want to slice it pretty thin. And as I mentioned, we were really short on time. I think this was Christmas Day and we're trying to make it to dinner. So we're going to cheat a little bit. That was some pickled Korean and Japanese vegetables. We steamed some rice, and we're going to make sort of a bento style dish. I believe these are marinated squid. This is just stuff that we had lying around in the fridge. So there's some Japanese seaweed. These are some pickled cucumbers. That I just laid down. That is some purple radish sprouts that I dressed with a little bit of lemon juice. Oh, look at that. I put green and green. See that?
Yeah.
Shit.
Oops.
And finally, we lay down the fish. And it's a pretty colorful dish. Really quick preparation. It takes maybe 20 minutes total if you have the rice and the other stuff ready. And we're just going to garnish with some scallion, and there you go. That's a meal. This miso glaze works for any fish, chicken. Alright, so here's the one that's out of the oven. And you're not going to get quite the same browning on top of the fish, but this is what you'll generally see if you order miso glazed salmon or some other fish in a Japanese restaurant. It's a more uniform layer of miso glaze, and you can even finish this off in the broiler, or you can use a blowtorch if you want more color. But this is not going to taste as intense as the one that you finish off in the pan. Okay, that's pretty much it. Miso glaze, 2 different techniques. Make sure you check out Elias's channel for the Western lake trout dish, and thanks for watching.